Hi, welcome to A Punk with Toys. My name is Lawrence, and today we're going to take a look at the G.I. Joe Classified Python Crimson Guard. Now, this is a Target exclusive in the U.S. Everyone else, I don't know how you guys get them, but you guys got them all before us. So I know this video is going to be coming late. This review is coming a little late, but hey, you know what? I'm here to do it. And unlike a lot of people that don't have the ability to, I will be comparing it to the O-ring version of the Python Patrol Crimson Guard. Now, I know a lot of people have an issue with this because it's not crimson. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. The Python Patrol was at the end of my collecting, or end of my days of playing with G.I. Joe, but I never really looked at the crimson. It never dawned on me that crimson was the color. I just thought of Crimson Guard as like what their name was. So until my son actually pointed it out a few years ago while looking at the a Python Patrol Crimson Guard, I was like, oh, didn't even realize they're actually crimson. But anyway, that's beside the point. I actually do like these. This is one of my favorite figures of all time. Not the Python, the Crimson Guard in general. So I really don't care what color you give me. Give me black, I'm going to be happy with it. You can give me red, I don't care. Give me blue, I'm going to love the Crimson Guard. It's just such a cool looking figure. So anyway, let's take a look at it here. Now, it is the same artwork that we saw before, but now it's just completely plastic free. So instead of seeing the figure like we did before, we see what the original artwork is supposed to be, but it is turned into crimson. And here we have the figure, the Python Patrol, which is a Target exclusive. There is the side, and he is number 66. There's a crappy file card that no one reads because no one understands. And a matter of fact, I don't even think that the G.I. Joe or the Hasbro has it up anymore. On the back, you're going to get the figure. You're going to get the height of the actual figure. And I know I've mentioned this before. People don't seem to like it, but I love the fact that they give you the actual height of the figure. Not the height of what he's supposed to be, but the height of this actual figure. And here's all the weapons. So anyway, there's no use looking at me. You guys know what I look like, unfortunately. Let's look at this bad boy. We're going to compare him to the O-ring. And then around it, we're just going to have the other Crimson Guard, so you can kind of just see how they are. All right, so he's out of his plastic-free prison, and I will show you again. This is part of the old style that they were doing. As you can see, the G.I. Joe team I did mention, and I have mentioned every time, they at least tried to put some care into the plastic-free. They knew people wouldn't like it, but they put the Cobra symbol. Now, all the new figures that are plastic-free come with the artwork behind it. And the other way you know is that the locker that they gave still has the digital padlock. Tells you this is Python Crimson Guard, that it is number 66. Again, I mentioned the handles are too small, but it was kind of mentioned that, hey, you know what, maybe this is for a child. So, I don't know. Good idea. Bad execution. And then again, the Cobra and Joe symbol that they use on their paper that everything comes with. So quickly, we'll take a look at the backpack here, and it does have the Cobra symbol has, you know, the nice little silver on it, so it does stick out. It does have the peg here, so you can put his rifle on it, and then it has a peg here, so you can put the sword sheath into it. Here's his gun, and that looks a little warped now, doesn't it? I want to say this is probably the first one of these M16s with bayonets that I've had that are warped. Now, I have to say that these guns, unlike a lot of them, are actually pretty sturdy. They're not too hard, where like a Valiburs or NECA weapon is really pointy and pokey, and it actually will hurt you, but it's not soft like some of the other crappy Marvel, Star Wars, G.I. Joe weapons that they give you. It does have a removable magazine here. So, you can see the bayonet is a darker color, but it breaks it away, and then it has crimson on the back of the stock. So, you are going to know the difference between all the different rifles. As this one here, this is the retro, it is silver, and this one here is silver, but it is a darker silver. This is more of a really dark. You know what? Give me a second, guys, because guess what? Someone feels the need to come into the room right now. I love this when I'm in the middle of doing something, and he feels that, hey, I need to break in, even though there are other people in this little home right now. All right. Since I am back, we'll look at this. Look at the knife. Again, these are all the same weapons that came with the other Crimson Guard. So the blade here is the same color. It does have this nice snake at the end. It's got the crimson. It looks like there's a little bit of silver on it. I'm not really sure why, but it does have a snake head, snake head on it, so it looks really nice. You got the sword, which is straight, the same color. So I'm glad that they went with all the same colors with the swords and everything. Swords, knives, all the blades are the same. And then you have the crimson handle with a little snake on it. A lot of detail put into this. Again, this is where I really think that they are excelling for the most part. Here you have his pistol, which is the same pistol that he's come with. It does have a port for blast effects. So it looks nice. It is straight. And then you have the sword sheath, which does have a slight curve to it. Not as bad as my original ones. Again, they were supposed to come with cardboard to keep this stuff straight. Now, that wouldn't have helped this. This one I'm definitely going to have to heat up and straighten if I want it to be straight to where it's supposed to be. But what I do like about this is that the plastic is hard enough that you don't have to worry about it being super flexible like Torpedo's harpoon is awful. All right. So now let's take a look here. This is the other. So this is the other one. And I would say that the Cobra symbol looks like it's a little bit brighter in the silver. So the original release of the Crimson Guard, that's how it looks. Where this one here is also painted silver, but we have a red backpack. And the reds do not match with that, unfortunately. All right, so let's take a look at this and see how he turned out. So right out of the box, T-pose, bicep, pinless double elbows without an issue. I can bend them. Wrist swivels. Now these wrists here, they do go up and down on that side. And then same with on this one. So either way, you couldn't move them out this way if you wanted, because this is going to be obstructing it. You get your Jean-Claude Van Damme. Drop down hips. Again, not a fan of them, but they do come in handy for many, many things. Knees, pinless, no issues. You get your thigh swivel, boot cut, and then your ankle rockers, which are really nice. All right, so let's reach over here. I will say this, I've had some of these things that have kind of ridden up on some of the more recent figures. Sometimes you have to heat them up and pull it down. If this is in the way, it will obstruct putting the leg where it's supposed to go. I know that seems obvious, but unfortunately there are a lot of people that don't get that they have to be told how to do everything. So I'll do that for you guys. All right, so we'll look at the backpacks here. So the backpacks are pretty much the exact same. One has silver. You can even see where the belt buckles are. Now, they're not belt buckles on the original. They're just kind of like dots. But I like the fact that they did belt buckles. You have the rivets going down. Everything looks really nice. People always ask, what's that for? Well, it's actually kind of on the bottom of this. See how that last one hangs down? They kind of did the same thing here. That thing doesn't really do anything. And even on the inside, they put some buckles, which the original did not have. I really wish they would have went with this weapon. You know, it has the bayonet. This here, again, it is an M4. I don't think that Cobra should have the M4, but I'm okay with it. I'm not going to get upset. I like that these figures so far have a very uniformed weapon that looks really nice, and it's basically built off a real-world weapon. Everything else is not real. it actually doesn't come off the O-ring figure. So let me just slowly get this off the peg so we don't break it off in there. All right. So looking at this figure here, don't really see any paint issues. All right. It's got the black helmet rather than the red. So he's the first one with the black helmet. The silver around here kind of reminds me of Cylon, especially with the red in the middle there. Got the silver, no issues with any of the paint. Got his little marks up here for his emblems. Here it shows what his ranking is or what his classification is. He does have the ab crunch. I always forget to mention the ab crunch there. The python crosses throughout it. The black cobra symbol, and then you have these rivets that go down here. Here, rather than having the cobra symbol, he has the python patrol. Some paint apps throughout here, pretty much marking what he is. And all the way down here also. There's no crimson python on the back or on his legs, which is perfectly fine. Got his pouch on the side. Holster, knife. So let's compare the two. And I'll actually drop a link to one of these figures. As a matter of fact, I'll drop a link at the end to the original one that I had done. So they did change his mask to silver rather than gray. Now, I like the way the silver looks. It really pops. And I'm glad that they painted underneath here to make it look more like the turtleneck or just an undershirt rather than the gray that the original has. Over here, you have his tassels or whatever you want to. I'm not sure exactly what these are called. But on the top here, even though these aren't painted, if you look closely, it is very close to what those emblems are. So now they put some paint around here, around the neck, which I think is nice. It just kind of pops a little more. He doesn't have a cobra symbol. Now, I don't believe that mine had actually worn off. But the only place that you see python here is on the chest. But again, he still does have his rank and emblems right there. No arm emblem on the side. He does have the holster on the side for his gun. Now, they didn't give him his flintlock pistol, which is what it looks like this is supposed to be, and I'm perfectly fine with because I think it's a really dumb pistol. He does have the V on the belt, and if you look, the belt looks very similar. So they do a real good job of watching what was here and crossing it over to this. And if you look here, you can actually see around his waist and his crotch there. Now they painted this, but you can see where the buttons and the snaps actually are. And then again, you go down to the boots, you can even see where it kind of makes that point at the top. They have the pouches. Again, I think everything on these figures are absolutely wonderful. I love the belt buckle. Just small little paint app that emphasizes, hey, you know what? This is where it's going to snap together. So, and on this one here, he has the two rings around it where he only has one. The gloves are painted black rather than gray with black cuffs. For this one, he has a gray cuff. So, other than that, I mean, it's pretty close. They don't do the red visor on here. I think the head on this just really pops compared to this. You know, you look at this figure, it looks really good. When you get to the top, it kind of dulls out. But when you're looking at this one, everything just really seems to pop. So, put them together quickly. Again, if you see my other reviews or many other people, considering this is now going to be an older figure, you know exactly how he goes together. And you know exactly how he looks. So, I do love this pistol. I think it is absolutely wonderful. For the most part, I put the sheath up here. When it's down here, it really gets in the way and gets obstructed. And again, you can straighten all these weapons out. And these ones are, you know, a little bit better, easier, because they stay in place. So all you gotta do is heat it up in hot water, not boiling water, hot water. Bend it to where you want it, and then run cold water while you have bending it exactly where you want, and it should stay there. It does have the trigger finger, so it's just gonna pop right on in. And again, we have all been waiting for these in the US, but everyone else around the world has pretty much gotten them. So I understand if people aren't sitting around waiting to get all the way through this video, because so many other people have already seen it. And I reviewed this figure twice, just not the Python version. So the other thing that I didn't mention in my other videos that is disappointing about this figure is his foot. And that's because the toe goes up like this. So even though you can pose them, and obviously I can stand them, they do have an easier time of being knocked over than some of the other figures because they will tend to rock. Now, again, if you take some time, learn how to pose your figures, I don't think you'll really have too much of an issue. As you can see here, I quickly was able to pose him in a shooting position and stand him. No stand needed, really easily. I'm going to get him on one knee. The knee is always difficult for a lot of people, myself included, that they just don't tend to want to stay in the same position that they should. So there you go. I got him in there pretty easily. You pretty much want to use the leg here as a tripod. So 1, 2, 3. You got your little tripod. You got to use the ab crunch. Boom, there you go. Now I have 3 Crimson Guards all just sitting there. Now I have a lot more Crimson Guards than this, but there you go. That's the wrap up. All right, so my final thought on this figure is I think it's a really good figure. I really do like it. I know not everyone is a fan of the Python Patrol. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of Python Patrol as Crimson Guards. They do put a lot of crimson in this. It was something Lenny specifically talked about, so people can't just complain that, hey, you know what, there's no crimson. There is crimson accents to it. So he will fit in with your Crimson Guards or your Python Patrol. I like the fact that they deviated from the face. They made it silver with the crimson visor through it, but all in all, this is a really nice figure. Again, I think the Crimson Guard is still one of the best figures ever made by G.I. Joe. Again, the toe is one thing that I have a complaint on, but everything else other than this M4 having a slight bend to it, which I will take care of, I think this is a wonderful figure. And I know other people have had issues with the Crimson Guards, but I've had no issues with any of them. So that's it. If you're interested, again, this is a Target exclusive. They're going to be readily available, but they are starting to hit the stores right now. All right, so there you have it. That is my review of the Python Patrol Crimson Guard Target exclusive. Again, check it out. Target, that's where you got to get it. So anyway, before I get out of here, take a second, jump on the socials, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Up Punk with Toys, the Facebook group page, Punks with Toys. Because once you join, you have Punk with Toys. Again, the Facebook page is growing, which is wonderful. And again, no politics, no BS, just toys and some memes. And last but not least, don't go anywhere, but take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a G.I. Joe video. Now, I think we're pretty much done with G.I. Joe for a little bit, but I said that just a little while ago with the last wave, and all of a sudden we got hammered again. Here I am doing more G.I. Joe. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Again, don't go anywhere. Right here is the first Crimson Guard that came out, and this is the G.I. Joe Classified playlist. Well, son of a bitch.